Definitely.
Yeah.
Everybody gets it right on the very first try, every single time.
Yeah.
Kalare rhymes with safari.
Kalare rhymes with safari. That's the way to remember it. I feel like maybe the reason I was thinking Kalare is like partly, I mean, it kind of looks like Kalare, but also like, doesn't that sound kind of like something you'd hear at like an Irish music session? Like,
it kind of does.
That's a Kalare whistle over there, kind of thing. Like,
it kind of does. Yeah, a lot of people think it's Irish or Scottish in origin.
Well,
it's actually
you're not
German.
You're not doing yourself any favors playing bagpipes with that kind of misconception.
I know. I'm really, really perpetuating that stereotype. But yeah, it's German. It's actually another version of Clara, so it makes sense that you'd mispronounce it as Kalare. So,
Kalare, and then why a German first name? Is your family recently come here from Germany, or is it far enough back, but you still have some?
Nope. My last name's German too, Eberting. But I think our main ancestry is Danish and English.
Gotcha. So
I don't know when Germany came into play. But
your parents just wanted to reach back and grab that name, though, from somewhere distant in the past, huh?
They actually found it in a baby name book in the basement of BYU library.
Oh, look at that.
So that's what happened.
That's so fun. Like I'm of the right age that I do remember. I remember specifically in elementary school looking through like meanings of names books, pre-internet. Maybe not necessarily pre-internet, but like easily accessible. A kid could get on there and look stuff up. Internet, yeah, exactly. So it's fun to imagine. Like my wife and I are expecting a baby right now, and so we've been thinking about names, and it's just like, man, what would we be doing? We probably would have purchased a large book of baby names, and would have been
just to get ideas.
Yeah, or visiting libraries, to look at lots of books or something. So then Kalare rhymes with safari. Like, I want to know some stuff about you in general. I want to know, like where you grew up and what your life's been like, and eventually how do bagpipes figure into that?
That's a very good question.
Well, and just to help you like really get couched, like I want to know like where you grew up and also like where you fit in your family. Are you the oldest or youngest of the siblings, and how much music was there in your childhood home? And let's start there and carry me from there.
Sounds good. Yes, I am the oldest of 5 girls, so I was the guinea pig. But I got to help raise the other 4.
Yeah.
My youngest sister is, I think she's 13. Yeah, she's 13.
That's I can relate. I'm also the oldest, and my youngest sibling is just turned 16, so close to the same spread. But yeah,
it's been fun to kind of watch the growing up process from the perspective of being an adult, or at least near to being an adult. So I really enjoyed that. I was born in American Fork, but then we lived in Orem in a little duplex that my dad owned until I was 8.
In American Fark, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Does that drive you crazy?
Nope, that's what my family says.
Yeah, that's the is that an idiom or is that an accent? I'm not sure what that is.
I don't know, but that's what my family says. I just don't hear a ton of other people saying it, so I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
So we were in Orange until I was 8, and then my dad built a house in Pleasant Grove.
Oh, cool.
And we moved there, which is where we live now, and I actually I'm living with my parents still while I pay off student loans.
There's no shame in that, Kalare.
It's free, I'm making good headway. Plus, it's fun. It's fun. One of my other adult sisters also lives here, just because we enjoy it and it's fun and it works really well for our family.
Speaking as a parent of a bunch of kids myself, like I wouldn't have expected that I would feel this way, but at least for right now, I would love it if all my kids would just stay forever. Honestly,
I think my dad really liked it.
Yeah, I would absolutely dread the day any of them left. Really, so. Yeah,
no, it's been great. And then Grace, the youngest, she should be so lonely.
That's right. Yeah,
so it works out great. So still in Pleasant Grove. I was homeschooled for most of my life.
Whoa, hang on a sec. You're one of those.
I am one of those, and I can tell you, there is more of us than you would ever think.
Yeah, y'all blend in so well sometimes.
Exactly. People only notice the weird ones, but there's a lot of us around.
I had a friend a while ago who was like, you wouldn't have known. He had the blending in down pat, and he even like would he would position himself in conversations if there were other homeschool people present as like, oh, I can translate. Right, like he would like it's like
it's a real
he
thing.
was like the bridge between the public schoolers and the homeschoolers.
It's a real thing, and actually, this is probably mean of me, but one of my favorite things to do is just kind of, I guess, when friends or acquaintances are talking about homeschooling, it'll usually come up organically, and I'm not the one instigating it.
Sure.
But I'll hear that they're starting to talk about it, and they're like, oh, I knew some weird homeschoolers, and this is such a terrible thing about homeschooling, blah, 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 blah. And I'll just be sitting there nodding. And then at like the most inopportune moment, I'll say, well, I was homeschooled.
And then just watch them backpedal. Really awkward. Let them really dig that hole as deep as it can go first.
It makes them think. It makes them think because really there's a lot of us around, and it's a really good path to education.
Yeah.
And I think people are passing early judgment without really knowing what they're talking about.
Yeah, I'm sure that does happen. Yeah. Did you do one of those like did you ever participate in one of those groups so that like homeschooling kids could like get together with other homeschooling kids to do like activities?
Oh yeah. We have this whole community. Sometimes we'd be doing classes together, like Wasatch Homeschool Debate League. Mm-hmm. I was in the first class of that. But there's just this whole community around. We would do homeschool proms. We would do like etiquette dinners. It was just a good time to get together with people who shared our same values, and it was a blast. I still have friends from that time.
I've wondered before if that's the kind of homeschooling that like produces the ones that can be the sneaky ones that you wouldn't know. Where
it is.
There are others, who are homeschooled in a cabin in the woods and never.
That's different. That's different. Yeah, homeschooling is not about being at home. Homeschooling is about finding your own path to education and really being in charge of what your own children are learning, rather than allowing other people to dictate that for you.
And I'm not trying to put up what do you call those things that pop up at the bowling alley? Like rails. Like I'm not trying to like
rails.
Yeah, I guess that's what they're called. I'm not trying to like force you into like just talking just music. I want you to stay as broad as you want, but I am curious. Did a music program figure into your homeschooling experience when you were a kid?
Yes.
What was that
like? Music all the time. We look at videos of when I was a kid, my sisters and I were young. There was always classical music played in our house, and we'd spend hours just dancing and dancing. My mom plays the piano really, really well and can sing at the same time, so we spent a lot of time dancing and singing while she played the piano. All of us play instruments or multiple instruments. So my first one was piano. I started when I was 3, and then by the time I was, like 12 or 13, I was just really annoyed that I was being forced to learn the piano.
That's the age at which you'd be annoyed at whatever was happening, right?
So I managed to wiggle my way out of having lessons, but I continued to just kind of have fun on my own. And I still play the piano, and I'm learning pieces, just not as formally as some of my sisters. I have 2 sisters who are very accomplished pianists, and I'm a little bit jealous that I didn't keep going. But
yeah,
you live and you learn. And then when I was in about junior high age, 12-ish or so, I actually started playing violin with the junior high orchestra. And so my mom would drive me over to the junior high just for the orchestra class. And
that's the context in which I met most of my homeschool friends, was in some choir or orchestra or something.
Just because, and here in Pleasant Grove, there's a really good music program. At the time, Mr. Beck still teaches there, David Beck. He's the orchestra teacher at the junior high.
I feel like I know David Beck. I didn't go to school up there, but I feel like I've met him before.
I think he's been one of the most important mentors in my life. And I didn't know it when I was 12. But he was also the teacher at the high school at the time. He doesn't teach there anymore. But so I had him as a teacher for many, many years. And I also ended up taking private violin lessons from him too. And he just taught me a different way of looking at the world and thinking. And he's very much about looking for the kids who need him as a mentor, and are struggling. And that's actually why he said he decided to go work at the junior high only instead of the high school. Because
of all places.
Well, he felt like he could make more of a difference in people's lives by catching them at an early age. So anyway, but yeah, so I got to spend a lot of time doing music that way. Loved being in orchestra. Some of my closest friends, we were in an orchestra together. even friends that I met at 12 or 13, I'm actually going to help them move later today.
Oh, really?
Watch their child. So it's just kind of funny how that works. But that was definitely a really important experience for me, being in orchestra. I loved that.
And this is proof that kids who get homeschooled can make friends. That actually is possible.
We can do whatever we want. And sleep in.
Dagnabbit.
And then, let's see, moving on to kind of college, I wasn't studying music, and so that kind of dropped by the wayside a little bit. But I liked to dabble here and there.
But what did you study in college?
Microbiology.
Whoa, cool.
Yes. So
how micro different. Are we talking? As micro as it gets?
Micro, yes. So all the germs.
That's got to be kind of... I feel like you've got to have a certain ability to just be okay with things if you're going to look that closely at...
It's true.
All the tiny, gross stuff that's inside and on top of us at all times, you know?
Here's the main reason why I ended up in that major. So I went to BYU, and before the semester started, they made you sit down and pick a major. Like, you just had to have one labeled on your account. And I was like, I knew I wanted to do something science, because at the time I thought I was going to go to medical school. And so I was going through the science majors, and I saw microbiology, and I thought, I don't really know what that means. So I picked it. And then I never really changed because it lined up with the prerequisites for the programs that I wanted to apply to. And so I didn't really change.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like it's unfair that microbiology gets that little tag, but we don't have a macrobiology? It just gets to be biology.
It's kind of funny.
It's like, what? I guess they were there first, huh? So
yeah, I don't know. Either way.
Yeah. So then do you get excited about like really nice microscopes? Like, does that still play a part in your life, or is that kind of
not really? And actually, despite the name of the major, I think I only had one class where I had to use a microscope, and I hated it. That is not what I would have expected. That's the opposite of what I would have expected. Yeah, so the majority of my classes that I enjoyed were the less specific to the major ones, like the chemistry. I did enjoy virology and immunology. Those were really interesting.
Those are the scariest ones.
I know. They really are.
You are the special kind of person who could do microbiology.
Kind of. But I did not continue with that as a career, but it worked fine to study in college. But I didn't enjoy so much the environmental type microbiology, which that's actually a big part of that particular type of study is like the ecology side of things. See, I wasn't really into that.
That's so funny because, like, for me personally, I'd be like, I'm comfortable like digging through the mud in some ponds up in the mountains to like figure out what kind of stuff is in there. It comes to like virology, I just want to pretend like that doesn't exist. That just freaks me out too much.
It was a little terrifying.
Yeah, it's part of what makes it interesting, though, huh?
Yeah.
Do you feel like, does that affect you maybe when you're playing your bagpipes? Do you think you're more likely to like clean your blow stock out than most pipers, maybe just because you're aware of what might be going on in there? At first I
was, but I think I've managed to blend in with the crowd and just ignore it at this point. And actually it's made it a lot more fun. I just kind of wipe it off with my sleeve once in a while.
That's all that. If the art form has existed for this many generations, we haven't all died out. That must be okay.
It must be fine. Yeah. So I've somehow managed to get around that.
That's funny. Now, is college a thing? I feel like, didn't you say you were really busy when I first contacted you to do this
yes.
interview? Weren't you like doing finals and stuff?
Not quite. I actually just graduated from my doctorate program last Friday.
Dang, way to go.
So that's what's been going on for the last couple of years.
Doctorate in what then?
It's called a doctorate of medical science. It's not a medical doctor. It's actually an extension of the degree I got as a physician assistant, which was my master's degree. Gotcha. And I emphasized my doctorate in health professions education, so I could open the door to becoming faculty at a program eventually if I want to get out of the clinic.
Gotcha.
I was also doing a part-time academic residency at the program that I graduated from, where I was kind of part-time faculty. So I was doing those both simultaneously, and it was very busy.
Yeah, I bet. Sounds busy. So are you feeling like just like your days are huge and endless and empty now?
It's a little intimidating.
Yeah.
It's only been a week, and I spent some of those empty days helping, again, my friend move, so it was pretty busy. I haven't had it quite open in front of me yet.
Yeah.
Although I am looking for, maybe part-time job to fill up those empty days just to keep myself busy, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So, the experience of, like now having a doctorate, does it make you, should we be referring to you as Dr. Kalare at bagpipe practice now?
I mean, you can if you want. Okay. I won't complain.
Let it be known. You earned it. You earned it. You worked hard for that.
I just go by Kalare. And where we run into the problem with that is I am a physician assistant, and so I cannot be referred to as a doctor at work. And
but
so
you can be a pipe band. So
I can be a pipe band. If you want to do it, I will accept it.
Okay. Garden Valley Pipe Band, listen up. This is Dr. Kalare from here on out.
Yes.
There we go.
That's me.
So then why bagpipes? Like looking back now, were you as a very young child into like Irish step dance or something? Like where did the seeds start to get planted to get you there?
Well, when I was little, when we were living in Orem, we would always go to the Provo 4th of July parade for Freedom Festival.
Big one, yeah.
Yeah, big one. Really crowded. My favorite part, well, besides the jets flying over, that was definitely my favorite part. But the second favorite part was always when the bagpipe bands would come by. I thought it was so cool. Do you consider yourself a thrill seeker, Kalare?
Safe thrills. Because it's just striking me that if you, as a small child, your favorite part was the jets flying over and the bagpipes, and you thought virology was so cool, I just am starting to think like this is a punk rock girl that I'm talking to here. Like you do.
I'm a fairly cautious person, so I don't know if thrill seeker is the right word, but there are a few kind of odd ones out, like jets that I really like. I don't know that I think I would take an opportunity to ride in an F-15 or F-16 sort of deal, but I mostly just like looking at them.
I see. So maybe not jump out of one, but ride in one perhaps, if you trusted the pilot.
Potentially. Yeah. I just, when those big jets fly really low over the stadium or whatever, you just kind of feel it vibrating in your sternum.
Right.
So cool.
Kind of a similar experience to the bagpipes, I guess.
Yeah, and so I think that must be related. Anyway, so I always enjoyed that. The parades never once occurred to me that that's something I could do.
Yeah.
And then, fast forward 20 years or so, Dune comes out. The movie Dune.
Really?
Have you seen it?
Can you believe I haven't seen it yet? I've listened to the soundtrack, though. I have listened to the soundtrack. It's
good. Okay, well, you heard the soundtrack, and so I really enjoyed the movie itself. I thought it was really well done.
I have every intention of seeing it. I just, I keep
see
falling
it on
asleep.
A big screen.
Like, every day I fall asleep.
It's a long one. You got to be committed. But at least you know the soundtrack.
Yeah.
But I was really surprised when halfway through the movie, this guy with a bagpipe started playing, like full on the screen. It was part of the movie. This
is cool. Is Dune our new Braveheart? Because after Braveheart came out, there was a huge surge of people playing bagpipes. I wonder if Dune will have a similar surge.
I haven't heard really anybody else.
You may be the only one.
Talk about it, but I think it should be. Anyway, and so the part where the bagpipes playing is probably the coolest theme in the entire movie.
Yeah.
And so I got home and I was like listening to it over and over and over again because it was just really, really cool. And then I thought, wait a minute. I just graduated from PA school. And at this point, I wasn't in the doctorate program or doing the residency. So I thought I was not busy. And so I was like, wait a minute. I need a new hobby. I wonder if I could learn how to play the bagpipe. And so I got on my computer and I Googled free bagpipe lessons in Pleasant Grove. And guess what popped up?
There we go. That's the
Garden Valley Pipe Band.
That's all right.
I just knew in my gut that there had to be somebody teaching for free.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why, but I just knew that. And so I joined the chanter class last January. And then at the end of that, I bought a bagpipe and started showing up to band.
There we go. And the rest is history.
History.
And will be soon as well.
History in the making.
Yeah, history in the making. That's super cool. And I appreciate, like, I feel like I can see this this attitude of, like, I can do what I want and sleep in, right?
Yes.
Like, wait a minute.
Seriously.
Hey, bagpipes. And then also thinking you're not busy when you're about to launch into the busiest time any human could ever experience.
Yes. It actually kept me sane to go to band practice most weeks. So I think it was good that I started at that point. Yeah, especially because it's a lot of work to figure out how to play bagpipe. I've never encountered this before. Every instrument I've picked up, easy. I can figure it out. This is a totally different beast.
Yeah, it's probably like kind of self-deprecating to a degree, like for all of us, like for me to say this, like it's probably like somewhat disrespectful or flippant, but like I have often told people who have asked me like, is it hard to learn bagpipes? I often tell them like it's a physical challenge.
It is so hard.
Maybe more than a musical one, honestly, at least at first, really? Like there's a big hurdle in that way.
I've got the music part down. It's the physical part, and maintaining steady pressure and not running out of breath and really not falling over and passing out.
Have you, let's see, so since January, has the band done the Provo parade yet?
We did it last year.
We did
do
it last year.
That was my ultimate goal in joining with the band, is I wanted to be in that parade, and I felt so cool.
Yeah.
I was mostly just droning.
Sure.
Because I couldn't really get much else out at that point, and I was totally out of breath because it's a really long parade and it was really hot.
It was very long.
But I looked really cool.
Yeah, no doubt. That's the funny thing, that like parades can get, like I've been doing parades for like 20 years now, and they can get very tedious, and like you don't really want to do them. It's kind of like the job portion of playing your bagpipes. Like you do it so the band can get some money and stuff. But the 4th of July parade, in spite of being the hottest and longest of them all, because it's so huge, like the crowd is huge and there's a lot of stuff going on.
It's so hyped.
I always look forward to it. It's still my favorite parade for sure.
Unfortunately, we're not doing that one this year, it appears. So I was a little disappointed, but the other ones are okay. I'm still fresh. So.
Yeah, they're still a lot of fun, and I don't at all mean to say that other parades aren't worth doing. They all end up being fun. It's like a lot of things. You don't want to do it until you get there, and then you're so glad you did it.
Exactly, especially if you do it all the time.
Yeah. So then, like, how does your other music experience interact with bagpiping? Like, I'm curious to know, just because, like, it's been a long time for me since that was fresh, So, like, what is it like right now? What is your experience? Is the bagpipe just the weirdest thing in the world, or do parts of it start to make sense, though, in different ways? Are there connections happening between this and your violin training, etc.?
The music part makes sense to me. It's the mechanical part that I'm still figuring out.
Yeah.
And luckily, Steve Pulley is around to help me with that part, because he knows the ins and outs and adjusts everything for me. And
Steve's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, he's great. But I think the most, the part of my previous musical training that translated the most was rhythm, just because I already had a very solid foundation in rhythm, and also note reading. And I think if that hadn't been the case, I would not be starting from a very firm foundation for bagpipes. And I've noticed in the class, because I've helped teach it a few times now. That's kind of fun. I can pretend I know what I'm doing. But the students who already have a little bit of a musical background, they're much more likely to be successful.
Yes.
Versus the ones who come in thinking they don't need to know rhythm, they don't need to know how to read notes, they're just going to figure it out. And I think that is an incorrect philosophy that a lot of pipers have, that I've noticed, and I was a little surprised about that. But I think we do need to be emphasizing more. We need to know how to read rhythms. We need to know how to read the notes so we can be playing correctly.
I think you're right, and I think you noticed it pretty quickly. I've noticed, so like the way that our class is set up, it's like in this one big room. At least lately, it's been this one big room, and we'll have a table in the corner for kind of the beginners, a table in the corner for the people who are kind of halfway through, and a table in the corner for people who are more advanced, you might say.
It's a little chaotic.
It's a little chaotic, yes.
But it's fun.
As I've been sitting at one of the other tables, I have noticed more than once, just out the corner of my eye, you doing a lot of good like rhythm clapping exercises and stuff like that, like really focusing on that with the beginners. And that is probably very, very helpful.
Yeah, I think, honestly, I was thinking of maybe mentioning this. I wonder if it might be helpful to have a rhythm and note reading class that's maybe a few weeks prior to starting the actual chanter class, because so many of those students are just not getting it, because they're behind. The students already have that foundation. So I've been thinking about how that could happen.
That's a really good idea. Yeah, definitely. So like the way that we laid the book out kind of just assumes that you already know rhythm and notes before coming to it. That would be, I can imagine that being very helpful, especially because the way the book is laid out is it's supposed to be in these 12-week chunks. It's kind of like, if you're not keeping up with that, you just kind of have to come back and do it again the next semester.
Yeah.
Like, there's not really a good way, and that's because the way it used to be, the way when we first started the class, we didn't have a book or anything. It was just like, anybody who wants to learn, show up, and we'll take you where you are. And it was like, especially when you ended up with 3 people there to teach and 40 people there to learn.
Oh,
and it was like, who already knows, what, how do you divide that thing up? So maybe we've gone from extreme chaos to less chaos, but we need more structure, even a little more. I think a couple weeks of
just in addition to the structure.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. I'm taking notes here on what to email the board about after.
Well, I'm wondering if this is even something we set up with YouTube videos or just a web page or something, and that would be a requirement before starting class.
That's a really good idea.
They're signed up,
yeah,
and then they need to have completed these steps first, so at least they have an idea of what we're talking about.
That's an excellent way to do it. That's a really good idea, man.
I am pretty smart.
That's a really good idea. You homeschool kids, you come up with good ideas. All right,
and we sleep in.
And you sleep in, dagnabbit. Okay, this is a really good idea. Let's email a little bit about this afterward. Let's see. Okay, so back to you though. What do you currently maintain any other hobbies, or are you so busy? Have you been so busy with work and school that bagpipes is all there's room for?
Well, I've been trying, as I've been nearing the end of my program, I've been trying to kind of bring out my old hobbies so that I'm not, just left hanging after graduation. So I'm learning some new piano pieces to play with my youngest sister. She does the cello, and she's really good at the cello and really good at the piano. Like, she's just much more dedicated than I ever was. But anyway, so she can play a lot of the fun cello pieces, like from the piano guys, and I'm kind of fumbling my way through the accompaniment, and so we have a lot of fun jamming that way. I've also recently become mother to 3 goldfish. And they're the 99-cent goldfish, which you think, that's a cheap, easy hobby. I had no clue what I was getting into. This has turned into a several $100 investment. Got a big old tank set up in my room, learning all about the nitrogen cycle and how to keep the tank balanced. I have this whole box of chemicals to use. I had no idea. I thought these fish were 99 cents.
I think it's by design. Like, there's some sort of like secret goldfish cabal. They're like, okay, the way we get people into this whole crazy thing is we're going to make the goldfish artificially cheap, like so cheap.
It's true. Well, it turns out goldfish are not beginner fish. Like, if you're going to start getting into fish keeping, you're not supposed to start with goldfish. Huh. I didn't know that until it was too late.
Yeah, it's like classic.
I've jumped to intermediate.
So it's not. So you're not doing like a simple glass bowl kind of thing.
No, you're not supposed to keep goldfish in a bowl. Who would have thought?
Sesame Street has lied to me.
That's actually really dangerous and cruel to the fish.
Who was it? Was it Ernie that had the goldfish in the bowl?
Oh, I don't remember.
No, Ernie had his rubber ducky. It was Elmo. Yeah, Elmo had his fish. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the image we all have in our heads, but actually goldfish produce some of the most waste of any fish.
Oh, no.
Meaning they need constant filtration. They need a large volume of water. You're supposed to have 10 gallons per fish. Unfortunately, I didn't know that, and I have a 10-gallon tank and 3 fish, so we're going to be upgrading soon. But it's a lot of maintenance to keep the ammonia, nitrates levels.
This must be a part of like why the death of a goldfish being flushed down the toilet feels like such a ubiquitous experience.
Because none of us have any idea how to take care of a goldfish.
Huh. And all of our parents think, I'll get the kid a goldfish. That's easy. He can't screw that up, kind of thing.
Indeed.
Wow.
Anyway,
have you named them? Do you have names for your goldfish?
Yes. So the first 2 are Toby and Kelto. My dad came up with those names. Yeah. There's no particular reason. And then the third one was actually given to me by a friend for graduation.
Did they know you already had fish?
Yes, that's why she got me a third. Okay. She handed me this bag, and she's like, you should open this present really soon. And it turned out to be the next goldfish. And he's really, really tiny. At first I named him after one of my PA school textbook called Bait Physical Exam. So his name is Bates, but we kind of call him Bait because he's so tiny.
Aw.
Anyway, they seem to be getting along great, but they definitely need more space. So I'm going to be working on that.
Do you have a theme for your tank decor? Like, sunken pirate ships or anything like that?
There's a little fairy castle in there and some plants and also an old medicine bottle because they like swimming in it. Oh. So that's the theme.
It'll make a serious fish keeper cringe to know this, but when I was a kid, my little brother had a small tank that he put some betta fish in, and he thought he had a little statue of Gollum, and he thought that would be a really great tank decoration, and it really was. It looked awesome, but it wasn't meant to be submerged in water.
Oh dear!
And so over time, the outside layer of it started to like chip and wear away, and it looked just increasingly, it started out looking kind of terrifying. Gollum,
it got worse.
And it like, the like underwater lighting and all that stuff, like it definitely looked very creepy. But yeah, it got worse. It got creepier and creepier over time.
That's great.
And probably wasn't healthy for the fish. I don't know what all was being released into the water. But
none of us know what we're doing, apparently, when it comes to fish. So
So when you're practicing your bagpipes at home, how do your like, I get the impression that your family have what we might call a refined musical taste. They're playing cello and stuff like that, right?
Exactly.
So how do they feel about the squeaks and squawks coming from the backyard, or heaven forbid, the kitchen, They're
totally into it.
Are they? That's great.
Which is really funny. But no, they think it's awesome. At first I was practicing my bagpipe inside because it was, that didn't have another option.
Yeah.
But now that it's warmed up, I'm trying to go outside. But they didn't even mind it when I was inside. They all just kind of gathered around to watch.
Did you're like the sideshow, the specimen that did the neighbors? I guess when your dad built this house up there, I have this feeling like Pleasant Grove was a pretty sleepy little town until, I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago.
It was pretty empty and spread out.
Yeah.
It's really exploded in the last decade or so.
So are you in a situation where, like, in childhood you maybe didn't have super close neighbors, like physically close, but maybe now you do have some houses that are really close by?
We did have neighbors because we built in a development.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
And so, and actually our backyard is open to several of the neighbors that share the block with us.
So how do they feel about your bagpipes?
Well, it turns out my next door neighbor is obsessed with bagpipes.
Could be
he doesn't play it, but he loves listening to it.
Yeah.
And so apparently, I went out and practiced for the first time outside a little while ago, and I was a little self-conscious because, I got to practice.
Yep.
I knew I wasn't very good, although neighbors won't know that because they don't know.
That's right.
The ins and outs.
That's the security blanket. Yeah.
But I was a little self-conscious, but it turns out my neighbor was outside, and his wife told my parents, but. He went in and he's like, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that?" And so I at least know when I go outside that Matt Pentalute will appreciate what I'm doing.
So at least as far as Matt's concerned, like, his property value just went up because there's a built-in bagpiper.
Exactly. I don't know how the others feel, but they're going to have to put up with it because that's what's happening.
Yeah. In the 10 or 12 years that we've had the house that we live in now, the house next door has changed owners. I think we're on the 4th now, and I don't know to what degree that's my fault, but I wonder. I wonder sometimes.
You got to practice. Yeah,
got to do it. So, and so I was going to ask you who enjoys listening to you practicing, but that pretty well answers it. Your neighbor and your family, at least as far as you're a curiosity, right?
as far as I know, that's what's happening.
Does your family ever do you guys get? Like, do y'all listen to the chieftains a lot? Like, is Celtic music a thing at home? Like, trad?
Nope.
Not. That's surprising.
Not at all.
Huh? You just really watched Dune and went for it.
I watched Dune and I went for it.
That's great. That's great. So, what about your own listening? Like, have you started to discover some pipers or pipe bands that you really like listening to? That you'd get an album of their stuff, kind of thing.
Not particular. Pipers necessarily. Honestly, most of the time I just open up YouTube and find a recent competition and just start the playlist.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of good stuff on there for sure.
Yeah, so that's. I'm sure as my my skills progress, I will find people that I specifically enjoy. But for now, it's more generic.
Yeah,
just trying to listen to it, get the feel of it. I'm right now in my own piping. I'm spending more time on the mechanics of breathing and the big notes. With maybe a few grace notes in there. I was doing the embellishments a lot at first, but I realized that was complicating things unnecessarily and preventing me from progressing. And so I've kind of knocked out the embellishments. I'm not doing them so much right now on the bagpipe, a little bit on the chanter, but not so much. But I'm focusing on getting really good foundation. And so really I'm just trying to listen and figure out how it all fits together.
I used to think really wrongly about that, at least from what I'm understanding now. I used to think that it was like if you were going to play something without the embellishments, you just had to learn it twice by adding in the embellishments later. Nope. So you might as well learn it. But yeah, I'm seeing now how very wrong I was about that.
I know. I thought that at first too, and then I was just realizing it was too complicated, and so I resigned myself to being a mediocre piper, and then realized I was actually getting better. Right.
Yeah. That's the thing, right? It's funny because it's something that I try to express to my kids who are taking piano right now that They just want to go fast and make it sound cool, you know?
Just won't
and I
work.
try to tell them, like, look, if you can play it slow, then you'll be able to play it fast. But if you jump straight to try to do it fast, you're never going to get it. You know, it's never going to come out cool.
And it's kind of the same principle. So I'm hoping to start lessons here in the next several months or so. And maybe have a little assistance in adding the embellishments into my playing. But I think you probably know the band's been reading Bagpipe Freedom.
Yeah, Finding Bagpipe Freedom.
Great book, and it's just re-emphasizing everything that I was thinking in my head, but nobody had actually said.
You know, Kalare, I don't know, like, maybe it's just me, right? But I don't know if, like, maybe you do realize, like, there are a lot of things about that feel revolutionary. Like, there's a lot of stuff there that seems so common sense, right? That makes sense to you, right? Mm-hmm. As a musician already who's coming into bagpipes right now.
Because we do that with other instruments. Exactly, that's the approach we take.
Exactly. But for me, like, I grew up at a time and in a place where this was like Ivory Tower Dark Wizards information, you know, like there was it was just shrouded in mystery, and like you would hand your reeds to the pipe major and somehow they'd give them back to you fixed, you know, like there was just so much I don't know what exactly, like mythology around like the magic ways of the bagpipe, and either you got it or you don't, and all kinds of stuff like that.
Exactly.
You know? It's a good time, though. I think that's a beautiful thing. It's if we want the art form to flourish and grow, we need it to be.
It's got to be foundation. You got to start with foundation, which apparently we didn't really start with foundation for most of us.
No, indeed. Many of us discover the foundation many years later.
Yep.
if ever. So do you feel like have there been any like surprise things, like aha or just like wow, that's so weird, things that have stood out to you as you've been going on this piping journey?
I think the most aha moment was when I finally got, this is embarrassingly recent, when I finally got my chanter reed and my drone reeds adjusted correctly, and I could just play.
Oh yeah, that like calibrated in so the pressure.
For the last year, I've been fighting and fighting, trying to find the right chanter reed that's the right strength for me, because I have weak lungs apparently. But recently, in the last few months, everything's just kind of fallen into place with this particular reed, which is a very easy strength, and so eventually that's going to need to change. But I've been able to just play and go to band and really enjoy it, instead of go to band and kind of dread the workout I'm about to get.
That's so important. You gotta, right? Like, what if you never got to enjoy it? Like, how long are you going to keep doing something?
It wouldn't have lasted.
Right? Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm starting to have fun now.
Hello friends, just a quick note to make you aware, this podcast is something that I love doing and I will keep doing it no matter what, but if you want to send me money, I won't say a nay. The easiest way to do that is through Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/DroningOnPodcast. We do regular drawings for bagpipey albums, books, sheet music, and more, including Droning On swag. All patrons are in the figurative hat from whence the names of winners are drawn, and there are other benefits to members as well. They're all listed there at patreon.com/DroningOnPodcast. And speaking of swag, another way to support the show is to buy cool stuff from my little online shop, bagpipeswag.com. There you can find Droning On stuff, as well as other pipey and drummy things that my friends and I make. And if you feel so inclined, I genuinely invite you to follow the show on Facebook. It's super fun to have a way to interact over there, to discuss past episodes, and I also like to bounce ideas off of you, my friends, ask you for input on upcoming interviews, that kind of stuff. I'd like to invite you to join in on virtual book clubs and probably lots of other cool stuff that I just haven't even thought of yet as of this recording. It's easy to find. Just get on Facebook and search Droning On Podcast. And if Instagram is more your jam, we're also on there at droning.on.podcast. You can also email the show at thedroningonpodcast@gmail.com. And links to these sites, social media accounts, and more are in the show notes. Leaving the show a positive rating and review helps others to find it, so feel free to do that. And thank you again for listening, you cool human you.
And I can.
That's good though. That's another one of those things that, like, when I was learning, I thought like the impression was that the best way to play was the hardest reeds. Like that they would have the best sound, and that you were a real piper if you could blast through, 2 2x4s lashed together with a leather strap kind of thing, And it was actually. I'm trying to remember now. Did you get to meet Zach Lees before he passed away, or did you
No,
come to the
I
band
joined
after?
later.
So this was the big, like, he was a really good piper, playing at like top level, like so good. And one time I was struggling with my pipes. He and I were doing a gig, just the two of us, and we were taking turns to make it through we were going to play for several hours.
Oh gosh.
And I was having a hard time with my pipes. And he's like, dude, just play mine. And so I just grabbed his pipes, and they were just smooth as butter,
Perfectly
like
balanced.
the easiest things to play. It was like playing a practice chanter. And I was like, wait a minute. I thought a really good piper would play a really difficult set of pipes, right? How is this
But it's
really
really
good piper
easy.
playing the really easy pipes? That was a big eye-opener for me, for sure.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad about playing an easy strength reed,
Oh
Kalare.
no.
I think,
Now that I'm having fun, I will take the easy.
yeah, I think maybe a lot of us ought to actually go to easy instead of telling ourselves that we're better for playing hards.
Well, it's allowing me to focus more on fingering technique.
Yeah,
rather than
totally.
Fighting with my pipes.
Yeah.
Still a long ways to go, but that's been a recent development.
Yeah, yeah. So do you feel like you're at a point right now where you already have like some dream tunes, like some songs you really want to learn someday, or is that still coming in the future? You know, is that not something?
Well, I really want to learn, I think it's called, is it Steam Train?
Oh yeah, it's a great one, yeah.
Because I found the music online and I like fingered through it on my practice chanter. It was really, really fun. But I love listening to it on the pipes.
Yeah.
And I would love to be able to play that really fast.
The band has done that before, so I bet we could get them.
Really?
Yeah, I bet we could get them to resurrect it again, and you could join in.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the top one. I like Itchy Fingers.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah.
So some of those kind of other classic ones, but yeah, I'm still building my tune list.
Have you already come down with the bagpipe acquisition disease, where you spend a lot of your time just like window shopping bagpipes day in and day out?
That was me last year when I was still trying to kind of build my arsenal.
Yeah.
And when I was looking around for bagpipes, at this point, I've been so busy with school that kind of went to the side. But
it's probably good. It's probably
I'm
good
sure
for
it's
your
going to
bank
develop.
account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm still borrowing a kilt from the band, and so soon I'm going to need to start figuring that out. And once I open up the kilt website, then I start thinking accessories, and it just gets a little out of hand. So it's going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it's like once you're paying shipping for one kilt,
You might as well get.
might you just as well get two kilts? So what about putting pipes together with the other instruments that are played in your household? Have you experimented or thought about experimenting with cello plus pipes kind of stuff or anything like that?
We've thought about it.
Yeah.
The problem is just the balance.
Yeah, of course.
So it'd have to be maybe recorded separately and then put together. Mm-hmm. So the bagpipes could be tuned down. So I'm not sure. But I don't know if you've heard the Piano Guys fight song / Amazing Grace mashup.
Yeah.
It's got the bagpipes in there.
Yeah,
I've always thought that would be kind of fun to play. But again, I'd have to be like outside.
Right. Yeah.
And then my sisters could be inside playing the rest.
Yeah.
Not my work.
It could work, yeah, for sure. You just get to lead, right? That's the nice thing about bagpipes. Sometimes when you're so loud and your tuning is so screwy, you can just be like, all right, well, everybody, follow me.
Yeah, so I'm not sure how that would work, but we've definitely thought about it.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to imagine that whistles, small pipes, that alternative chanters, all kinds of things are in the future for all of us pipers. May we all see a constantly growing arsenal of bagpipery in our living rooms. So.
Well, next on my list is I want to learn the accordion.
Oh, awesome.
So that's a little bit different. Mm-hmm. But
look,
then I'll turn to some of those whistles, maybe.
Did you know? I don't know if you realize this. Like, I don't have empirical data, but like as far as like just noticing, there is a surprising overlap in the Venn diagram of people who play bagpipes and people who play accordion.
Because we're the ones into weird instruments.
I think you're right. Yeah, for sure.
It makes sense to me that I'd learn the bagpipe and then I'd learn the accordion. Like, that just seems like a natural progression to me.
Yeah, well, look, Kalare, like, I'm looking behind me right now. I've got my bagpipe case on top of my accordion case. And
nice.
I'm pretty sure it's Stuart Little, who's, of course, a very accomplised bagpiper. I think he's a pretty good accordion player, too.
Funny. Well, I might have to ask you for some accordion pointers when I get to that point. I think probably another year. Focusing on bagpipes only, and then I'll start adding.
There you go. I will send you to, if you haven't encountered him already, Timothy Cummings has put out a few albums with Jeremiah McLean, who's a really good accordion player. Mm-hmm. So that's small pipes and accordion. They do the combo really well.
That's fun. Yeah, send me what you have.
I will for sure. So right now, where you are right now, if you were talking to somebody who's like, I maybe want to learn to play bagpipes, what do you think you'd say to them? Just I mean, of course, that would change from person to person if you knew them, but like,
it's true.
Generically,
I would say you should do it, but you should be prepared that it's very, very physical. It's going to be hard. It's not going to fall together perfectly, like maybe you've experienced with other instruments.
Yeah.
But it's worth it. And not only just the instrument, but the community. Like I was feeling a little lost after college and PA school because, you have your groups of friends there, and now we've all gone off. We've got our careers, and I wasn't part of any sorts of groups at that point until I joined the band. And now I have some people, and it's really fun.
I'm with you 100% there.
And so I think that's added a lot of meaning to my life.
Yeah. Yeah. During the COVID lockdowns, my wife asked me, if I had to just pick one instrument to do for the rest of my life, which it would be, and it was bagpipes. Oh, yeah. And it was because that's where my friends are. That's really the thing.
Because it's a team sport.
Yeah,
a lot of the time.
Totally. Now, what if we flip that around? What if you were talking to one of us pipers who have not branched into other kinds of music before in our lives, right? We just have come to bagpiping, and now we're starting to think like, maybe I'd like to learn, I don't know, guitar or violin or piano or something. Do you feel like what might you say to a piper now that you have a glimpse into what our world would be, our kind of enclosed musical world? Like, do you have any advice you might give generically to a piper interested in other music?
Yeah, I would say any other instrument you pick up is going to be totally different. Totally different. But you'll be required to have a good foundation in music theory and rhythm and note reading, which will enrich your bagpipe playing.
Lovely. So now that you're kind of, you're in the world of piping, what about drumming? Has that come into your mind? I mean, yes. You feel strongly about rhythm anyway. Are you thinking maybe drums at some point?
I think it might be fun to do just that intro percussion class. I think it would be fun to be good at the snare.
Yeah, I also think that would be fun. That's one of my... I have snare sticks. Like, I have every intention, but I just have not yet learned. But I suspect, like, surely learning the drum side of the house would make any piper a better piper, and surely learning pipes would make any drummer a better drummer, right? So, like, we should
just
all be
knowing
swapping.
how it fits together.
Yeah.
I think we should all probably learn the drums.
Right. Now, I like to geek out a little bit about equipment, and you recently got your pipes and everything. Like, will you tell me about your setup right now? What kinds of pipes and reeds and bags and stuff you have?
I'm trying to remember the brand.
Yeah, if you don't remember, no pressure. Like, don't feel bad about that.
Where did I get? Yeah. My pipes, they're Blackwood. I got the cheapest one. It was Henderson Piping I got it from. I'm trying to remember
I would guess McCallum's, but...
Yeah, McCallum, that's it. And so I just have, like, the very lowest Blackwood model.
Nothing wrong with that.
It was great.
It's a workhorse. It does great.
It seems to be doing great for me. I just have the easy drone reeds. And the chanter reed's been what's been the most difficult to kind of find, because I was told to get the platinum...
the G1 Platinum. Yeah.
G1 Platinum super easy ones. And the first one I got was actually really difficult.
I wonder if somebody mislabeled them in the
second one I got was way too sharp, and there was nothing anybody could do to make it get in tune. And then finally I got this third one that was still kind of sharp, but it was easy enough for me to play, that eventually we were able to tweak it. And so I finally have this, but it's now a little bit too easy for me, but I'm really hesitant to switch it out again as I'm getting the balance. And so
you get a good read, you never want to give it up, huh?
Exactly. Yeah. But it was just so funny because I thought I could just buy a reed and it would work, and that apparently was not the case.
You know what? I have a friend, I have a friend who plays oboe. And I was going to say I have a friend whose wife plays oboe. Like, we're all friends. But she's like a pretty darn good oboe player too. Like, gives lessons and travels to play with groups and stuff. And she makes her own reeds. And I was asking her about that, and she was like, "This is normal for oboe players. Like, all oboe players have these little shaving kits and stuff like that. I guess anybody beyond like a high school level is, at least from what she was describing to me, right?" And I was like, well, then why isn't that normal for bagpipers? And I do kind of wonder, like, I don't want to put any reed manufacturers out of business. Of course, some of my good friends make reeds and they do a great job. And I think there'll always be a market for a professional reed maker. But it did make me wonder, like, is this the next step in the democratizing of previously secretish bagpipe knowledge, you know? I don't know. I don't know anything about it myself, you know, but it's like, well, what if, even just for the sake of doing more maintenance to make our reeds last or work better, once we get them and be like, oh, it needs an adjustment, I have the tools and know how to make that adjustment.
Exactly. You know? Yeah, I don't know.
Well, what about pineapple on pizza? I know it's kind of silly and
delicious.
Okay. Well, you're local, right? So, like, of course, we both understand that that's, of course, excellent.
I think it tastes so good.
Yeah. Recently, though, I'll tell you what's been happening to me, though, Kalare, is that it used to be Canadian bacon and pineapple for me all the time. Ham and pineapple for those who are not initiated into the Canadian bacon situation. But lately, I've been going with just your standard, what the Brits call stripy bacon, just straight up normal bacon. Normal bacon? Is that fair for me to say? American bacon? I don't know. Non-Canadian bacon?
I don't know.
Just like crumbled instead. And
that sounds really good.
I'm digging that for sure.
But yeah, the pineapple I think is a necessary addition.
Yeah, my favorite is when I throw in some jalapenos too. You like?
Ooh, I don't know how I'd feel about that. I'm not spicy.
That's maybe just me.
Person. I think it is just you.
Yeah. Well, and so then I guess what bring me to a graceful close, Kalare. Say something wise and insightful about music in general and the value of participating in community activities and maybe bagpipes.
Well, you're not putting me on the spot or anything.
No.
But, I think music is a vital part. It's been a vital part of my life, and I really think it should be a big part of everybody's life. I think it makes us better people. It makes us friendlier. Improves the community, and it will enrich your life beyond what it would be without music. And it's not just pipes. It's listening to good music, learning other instruments, playing with friends, and that's about as graceful as it's going to get.
That's beautiful. I didn't want to make you uncomfortable.